Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, we're going to look at the 100 greatest muscle building tips of all time. Before I get into this topic, if you need coaching, check out the link down below. Coaching is what I do full time. I would love to work with you. All right, let's dive in. I want to be quick and snappy with this one, but let's entertain ourselves and maybe learn something. There is a list of the 100 greatest muscle building tips of all time. This is on the ultimateperformance.com. And I thought it would be fun to kind of comb through these. I'm going to go through these really quick because there are 100 tips. I'm going to give you my knee-jerk reaction. We're not going to dive in, but I thought it would be fun to just look at what a random site was telling individuals is required or ultimate for muscle building. So let's get into things. It says, so we have put together 100 of the greatest tips on training, diet, supplements, and lifestyle that will help you build the most muscular physique ever. Just echoing to infinity. All right, let's get into things here. When it comes to muscle building, talking training is more interesting. So let's start with that this time. Always strive for progressive overload, obviously. Yep. Strive for hard training, right? Strive for do more than you did last time. Use big compound exercises. Yes, not only big compound exercises, but a good quality staple of big compound exercises. Pump up. Once you've hit the big moves hard and heavy, use more isolated moves. Isolation moves, yeah, to pump those muscles. No, it's not as simple as that. We don't just do squats and then move on to pumpy work. So, not really. Lift through a full range of motion. Unless you're an advanced trainee, partial squats and the like have no place in your training program. I don't know if partial squats ever have a place in your training program, but you know what? Just lift through the full range of motion of the exercise. Up your training frequency. Okay, here we go with the typical non-scientific psychobabble. You should be aiming to train each muscle group at least 3 to 5 days every 3 to 5 days. Well, that's been kind of washed out when we look at the actual meta analysis of things. The problem with this is that when we look at the frequency studies, they inherently had more weekly volume than the body part splits. And if you doubt this, just look at what some of the other experts have said about this, like Brad Schoenfeld, etc. When weekly volume is equal, there's really no difference between frequency training and body part splits. That's what the science really shows, but nobody wants to hear it. The frequency studies tended to have more volume weekly, and that was the factor that led to the hype and the spreading of the information that frequency training was inherently better than body part splits. It really doesn't matter how you train. Just train hard. If the weekly volume is the same, it doesn't matter. All right. Match your training frequency and volume. Okay, what? Match your training frequency and volume to your recovery capability. Basically, they're saying use a program that works for you in your recovery. That's pretty much duh. Change up your training. No. Alternating between cycles of intensification. They're trying to pull out a big word here. Intensificate, lower reps, higher loads, and accumulation. Higher reps, lower loads is a great way to blast. But no, this is nonsense. It's so much nonsense here. I don't even know where to begin. There's really no muscle building plateau. You don't need to change things up. The body doesn't acclimate to lifts. It doesn't acclimate to hard training. This is just a steaming pile of crap. If training in lower rep ranges, such as 4 to 6 reps, make sure you increase the sets to ensure sufficient volume. Okay, first off, if you're training in that range, you're training at about 82.5 to 85% of your 1 rep max. And all of a sudden, because we're training at that intensity level, that we have to increase volume. No, you do not have to do that. My power muscle block and power muscle burn programs use this rep range for the big compound lifts. Just back it with a reasonable exercise selection that is, in more traditional hypertrophy rep ranges, and you're fine. If in doubt, get stronger. if in doubt, yeah. That's getting stronger is the only way. Obviously, getting strong is not the be all end all. You want to focus on hard training, and strength increases come from that. But yeah, pretty much. If in doubt, get stronger. Push for more than last time. All right, this one's bizarro. Squeeze the bar as hard as you can. This will have a radiation effect. Yeah, what it'll do is create elbow tendonitis and create full body tension. You'll have full body tension, guys, as well as ensuring your muscles take the load, not your joints. I don't know about that. This is just bizarro. I've never heard this one before. Just squeeze the bar normally and appropriately. We're not trying to squeeze the bar to death. We're not trying to squeeze the life out of the bar. So we're trying to focus on the exercise being performed. And it says, check out the inspiration client transformation story. Okay, whatever. Number 11, don't strive for 1 rep max strength. You need to get strong for reps. Well, duh, we're trying to train hard and have strength flow from that. We're not training for 1 rep max strength. So yeah, I get it. Train your muscles, not your ego. Most men, not women, need to take 10% off the bar. Most women need to add 10%. While I would probably, women need to probably push for progressive overload a little bit more, or hard training a little bit more. So this is a little bit generic advice, but to say most men need to take 10% off the bar, most men that are stagnating in a commercial gym need to increase their hard training factor just as much as women. So it's pretty much equatable. Keep it simple. All right, now you're talking the massive iron way. If you're a beginner, you need to focus on getting stronger in the 6 to 12 rep range before using any fancy techniques. Pretty much. Make changes to your program. What? Your programming. Okay. Every few weeks, minor changes in grip angle, rep range, exercise order is enough to create. Yeah, it's going to create a new stimulus, but your body's constantly adapting to the new stimulus, and it's never getting a chance to progressively overload because you're busy changing up all the fuckery nonstop. This is a horrible tip. It's only when your body can, if you start a new exercise like leg press or hack squats, it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks for your body to acclimate to that program, to that exercise, and then you can start focusing on performance increases. We want performance increases. We want to be able to get acclimated to an exercise so then we can get the most out of it. If we're just throwing in new bits and pieces, all we're ever doing is acclimating to that minor change. And we're never really encouraging progressive overload. We're never really encouraging hypertrophy. Well, where are we? The more advanced you are, the more often you'll need to change your program. Again, just steaming pile of nonsense. Attack your weaknesses. How do you know what your weaknesses are? If you have a weak body part, always train it at the start of the weekly cycle and first in your program. This is horrible advice. Now you're going to set everybody off that thinks their biceps are weak, so they're going to start it in their program before back training. On so many levels, this is idiotic. First off, let's train everything like it's a weakness. Instead of trying to assume my body part's weak, do it the massive iron way and focus on trying to attack every body part from head to toe like it's a weakness. Then and only then, after 5 years of training, will you know you actually have a weakness. Play around with exercise order. Sometimes placing the big moves at the end can be more effective. Yeah, sometimes doing squats at the end is a little bit, easier. I'll give them that, but I don't really think that this is a magical hypertrophy key. You have to have a reasonable order of exercises, and then from there you can adjust if needed. Time under tension is key for hypertrophy. No, control mechanical tension is a big part of hypertrophy. Controlling the weight down, yes, you want to control the weight, definitely, but we're not trying to chase time under tension. We're trying to chase a hard set. If you're just flipping a weight around rapidly, it's not a quality set. You don't really have any quality tension. Experiment with different tempos in your lifts. No, don't do this. Don't do this. This is absolutely useless. Control the weight. That's really all you need, and focus on the hard training. Taking as many sets as you can for maximum safe quality reps. That's all you need. Stimulate, don't annihilate. This is one of the things that gets tossed around a lot in the bodybuilding world. It's pretty generic advice. I mean, I've always annihilated things, I think, to a degree. So I guess it really means what the definition of annihilate means. So for most people, 4 hard strength training workouts is a good target to reach each week. Yeah, it's pretty good advice. That's a good starting point where we start in the massive iron world. If you have the time, try adding twice a day for short periods. Well, I mean, if you have the time, yeah, you could break up your training a little bit, but that really provides no inherent benefit. If it benefits you because you are limited, regarding workout time at one of your workouts, then go for it. Purposely push past your recovery capabilities before backing off is a great way to create muscle growth. So they're talking about overreaching, and I don't think the average person really needs to worry about overreaching. I mean, what we would want to do over time is increase our work capacity. So over time, you want to be able to do a little bit more. I mean, when you start with a physical endeavor, your work capacity really isn't going to be there, whether it's running or lifting. And over time, we want to improve our work capacity. But I don't think we want to kill ourselves and try to over push ourselves constantly into overreaching. It's an evolutionary process. And over the course of a couple of years, you want to increase your work capacity, but you don't want to kill yourself in the process and just start from the get-go trying to push into the overreaching zone. Deload your volume workload every 3 to 6 weeks. This is absolute bung advice. Just nonsense. It's just dog dung. It's a load of steaming crap. This is a good way to, you're going to deload every 3 weeks. Let's take 17 weeks out of 51 out of the year and just turn that into useless training. This is just arbitrary crap advice. Take a week off every 12 to 16 weeks. Now, I'm not against taking time off from the gym, but this is just more arbitrary crap they're shoveling. It's regurgitating stuff they found on the internet. Usually in the massive iron world, we work in anywhere from 3 to 5 month training cycles. And if you want to take a week off after each cycle, that's perfectly fine. If you just want to take a couple days, 2-3 days off before beginning your next cycle, that's fine. But just know this is rather generic and arbitrary advice. Always seek to improve your work capacity. Hey, they just came back to a point I just made, so we'll give them an A+. Anabolic output is a function of training volume. What? The more often we can stimulate a muscle, the more opportunities we provide for growth. Just inherent nonsense. It's just a steaming pile of crap. We have a lot of it in this article, unfortunately. Again, weekly training volume has been shown to be the key. And if you go on this, we just have to do more and more and more and more. Activate your nervous system at the start of a session. No, you don't need to do that. You activate your central nervous system by doing warm-up sets. That's going to stimulate your central nervous system and get you prepared, proper warm-up sets for the big hard sets at the beginning of your workout, like for bench and squats, etc. I don't really think doing explosive movements like jump squats and clap push-ups are a good way to start, especially when you're cold. I'd rather see you do things like this when you're fresh and warmed up, but that would go against what they're trying to push here. And what they're trying to push is that if you do explosive types of things, it's going to stimulate, activate your central nervous system, and then you'll be ready to go. Just do a proper warm-up set structure. You'll be absolutely fine. Lift fast. What does this mean? When it comes to the big compound moves, aim to accelerate the bar on the consent. When you're lifting, you're going to inherently use power. When you're trying to get the bar off your chest, you're not trying to lift it fast. The very act of trying to complete a rep, you're lifting fast. The same thing when you're coming out of the hole on a squat, you're lifting fast. We don't want to try to lift fast. This is really bad advice, especially when it comes to things like curls and seated cable rows. You're going to get a bunch of people doing spazzy work in the gym. You want to control the weight. You want to power it back, but you also want to focus so you can get a good feel as well. Here's a bad one. If you can't feel the muscle working or get a pump in a muscle, it's unlikely it will grow. This is just awful, awful advice. On a compound movement, like squats or bench, you don't have to feel your chest on bench. You don't have to feel your quads working on squats necessarily for them to be working. I learned this the hard way. 38 years of squatting, my hamstrings always get sore. My quads never get sore, but my quads are growing. You can easily have one muscle group that is stronger than the other and that can overshadow the others. And in this mix, the weaker or smaller muscle groups might be taking a beating. You might feel them more, but that doesn't mean the big muscles aren't being worked. It's a ridiculous statement. If you take your squats and get them up to 400 pounds, your quads are definitely going to be getting stronger in the mix. Plus, we're using a good quality exercise selection, which just provides a solid plan of attack for any muscle group. On a big compound movement, focus on form. Focus on nailing form, and the muscles involved will work, even if you don't feel them. So here we have some random chart. Strength reps, functional hypertrophy, hypertrophy, strength. It's all strength and hypertrophy, folks. It's all strength and hypertrophy. I don't know what the bleep functional hypertrophy is. All right, this is getting a little bit long-winded, so I don't think I'm going to go through everything, but I think we're going to just stop with the training stuff. Pick the right exercises for your body type. Well, if an exercise bothers you, if it doesn't feel right for your limb lengths and leverages, then you should adjust it. So I think in a sense they're onto something here. The way they phrased it a little bit, just kind of the way they phrased it triggered me a little bit because I thought they were getting into V-shred body type territory. Prioritize body parts to create an illusion. Bigger shoulders, upper chest, and lats. Well, we want to train everything. We don't want to under-train everything. We want to train with balance. And if you train with balance, you're going to bring these things up and you're going to create a V-taper and you're going to create all these things that they're after here. So this is kind of really nonsense advice. I mean, you can't create a V-taper without bigger shoulders, bigger chest, bigger back, etc. So you're just going to train the same way anyway. Train a muscle in different positions of tension. If training the quads, for example, you can use exercises which emphasize the mid-range. Well, basically, to dumb this down, you want to train a muscle group with a quality variety of exercises on a weekly basis. Loaded stretch type movements such as Romanian deadlifts can be effective. Well, anything can be effective for hypertrophy as long as it's a reasonable exercise and it has a progression opportunity. Then anything is viable for hypertrophy. So this is kind of redundant. Get stronger over a wide variety of rep ranges, not necessarily. Just use the rep range that is appropriate for the specific exercise. Number 36, rep out. For slow twitch muscle fibers, such as the quadriceps, don't be afraid to push the sets of 20 or even up to 100. Yeah, go ahead and do 100 sets of squats. Let me know how those are working for you on the quadriceps. Basically, just, use the rep range that is going to work for you on that specific exercise and don't overcomplicate things. Try breathing squats. Now we're getting old school. Take your 10 rep squat max and do it 20 times. This sounds a lot easier on paper than it is in practice. Your 10 rep squat max, if it's truly your 10, I know this has been tossed around a million times over the years, but if it's truly your 10 rep squat max, you can breathe all you want in between reps. I doubt you're going to be able to ever get 20 reps. Maybe you can squeeze 12 reps out of it. I have nothing against 20 rep squats, but the whole try to take your 10 rep max and turn it into and do it 20 reps doesn't really work in the real world. High intensity training, Dorian Yates style, can work for short periods of time, not long periods of time, just short periods of time. Why? Because we need to switch things up because we're idiots regurgitating nonsense. Look, use the style of training that works for you. There's never any need to change that style of training because we are focused on hard training and progressive overload. Interspersing periods of high volume with low volume is more effective. No, it's not more effective. This is utter nonsense. It's if you want to do a high volume phase and a lower volume phase and switch it up every 3 to 5 months, as long as you're training hard, you're going to get about the same out of each one. I mean, if you're training with more low volume, you might be able to train actually harder and more focused on every set. But the concept that alternating between these types of protocols is more effective is just patent nonsense. Now, here they contradict themselves a little bit. Try drop sets, rest, pause, and partials to extend the time under tension. To extend the hard training factor. We're not after time under tension. That's not the magic. The magic is the hard training or mechanical tension or stress replacing on a muscle. Experiment with bands and chains in your training. Here we're getting funky for the sake of getting funky. Use them with squats, benches. This has no inherent hypertrophy value. If you like to do these, yes, but we don't need to change the strength curve and create more overload. You could just use basic progressive overload and you're fine, and you never need to do this. Number 42, periodize your intensity techniques. Don't abuse them. This implies that if you don't periodize your intensity techniques, you're abusing them. I don't know what you're talking about here, but you don't need to periodize anything really unless you feel it's punishing you. When possible, use thick-handled barbells and dumbbells. You don't need to do this. We're not trying to train our forearms. We're not trying to turn a bench press into some gripping exercise. This is one thing I absolutely hate about the thick-handled type of training. Yes, it can make it harder, but is it the right kind of harder? Are we making the grip harder on a bench press by using a thick handle or one of those thick grips? Or are we actually making the chest harder? I would argue we're making it harder in the wrong ways. Buy a pair of rings, okay? I think we have enough exercises in the gym. They're not a requirement, but if you like rings, you can get rings. Get strong on body weight movements. Ring push-ups and glute ham raises are great swaps for dumbbell presses and leg curls. Well, you want to get strong at a good selection of exercises. If you like body weight stuff, you can work those in surely, like pull-ups and dips. Do unilateral leg work. I wouldn't say step-up variations. You can do split squats and lunges. To keep balanced and healthy, we're after hypertrophy. Who cares about balance, right? And health, we should be healthy, obviously, but we don't need to do unilateral work to keep healthy. We're trying to build muscle. Do some strongman training for more real-world strength. Strength is real-world strength. This news update just in, strength is real-world strength. You don't need fancy things like stones to build real-world strength. I don't think that strongmen only do stone lifts. I think they build a base on the same type of exercises we use and then do these just because it's very specific to their sport. All right, this is a brilliant one. Stick to the plan. Don't program hop. You just told people to change programs every week or 2 weeks or change grips and everything frequently, and now you're telling them not to hop around. You need to figure out what the fuck you're talking about. Keep your workouts short and intense. Why? The goal is to train hard and progressively overload. After 60 minutes, your intensity and drive will drop. Well, I can actually train for 90 minutes and my intensity and drive doesn't drop. This is rather generic advice, but instead of focusing on this, we need to focus on having a reasonable amount of weekly volume, a reasonable amount of volume per workout so we can train hard on that volume. We don't need to focus on short and intense. We just need to focus on something that is working for us. Find a good training partner? No, thank you. No, I'll pass on that. Pick the right training environment, duh. But, it's not like we have a lot of choice. It's not like there's 17 gyms in the area. I think you're going to naturally pick the right training environment. Train hard and with heart and with passion. Yeah. So there you have it. Those are the 52 muscle building tips. I'm not going to get into the eating because this video is already long-winded and entertaining. but maybe we can do that at a different time because we still have 48 tips left. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what the biggest pile of steaming nonsense was in this video, or if you disagree with me on anything. I'd be happy to entertain the possibility that I am wrong and an idiot. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day.